What if I told you that just 7 minutes a day could challenge something as powerful as the blood pressure medication your doctor prescribes, and that there's real scientific evidence to back that up? It sounds almost too simple to be true, but stay with me, because what you're about to hear isn't another complicated fitness plan or some expensive health trend. This is something you can do right now, at home, without a gym membership, without equipment, without supplements, and without turning your life upside down. Just 7 minutes, done consistently every single day, designed to target your blood pressure through multiple mechanisms at once. And that last part is what makes this so different. Most people think lowering blood pressure comes down to one or two things: cutting salt, going for a jog, or taking a pill. But this routine goes deeper. It targets the actual root causes of high blood pressure, not just the symptoms. And understanding that difference is everything. Now, if you're new here, welcome. I'm Dr. Pradeep Jamnadas, and this channel is all about helping you prevent the kinds of diseases I see every day in the emergency department. If you find value in this, the best way to support it is simple: like the video and subscribe. It genuinely helps this information reach more people who need it. Before we jump into the routine itself, we need to understand something important: why blood pressure rises in the first place. Because if you don't understand the cause, you're just guessing at the solution. There are three major mechanisms happening at the same time when your blood pressure is elevated. First, your arteries become stiff. Over time, your blood vessels lose their natural elasticity, and when that happens, your heart has to push harder to move blood through them. That extra effort translates directly into higher pressure. Second, your vascular function declines. Your blood vessels stop responding properly. They don't dilate the way they should when your body needs it. And third, your nervous system becomes overactive. Stress, anxiety, poor sleep, these keep your body stuck in a constant fight or flight mode. And when your body thinks it's under threat, it keeps your blood pressure elevated by design. Now, here's where most people go wrong. They try to fix all of this with just one solution. But this routine is built to address all three at once. And even more importantly, the order in which you do it actually matters, something we'll come back to shortly. Let's also be clear about what this video is and what it isn't. This isn't about diet, even though diet plays a massive role. It's not about stress management, sleep optimization, or weight loss, even though all of those are incredibly important. I've covered those topics in detail elsewhere. This is purely about movement, a simple, focused, 7-minute routine. The goal here is to show you that even a small, consistent daily action can have a meaningful impact on your blood pressure. Because in a perfect world, yes, you'd be exercising regularly, lifting weights, improving your cardiovascular fitness, eating clean, managing stress, sleeping well. But let's be honest, that's not the reality for most people. Time is limited, energy is limited, and consistency is hard. This routine is designed for exactly that reality. It's the minimum effective dose of movement. Because doing something, even something small, is always better than doing nothing. And the science behind each part of this routine is surprisingly strong. So if you can commit just 7 minutes a day, you're already moving in the right direction. So let's get into it. The first 2.5 minutes are what I call the isometric phase. And this is one of the most overlooked tools for lowering blood pressure. You'll start with a wall. Sit back flat against the wall, sliding down until your thighs are parallel to the ground, holding that position for about 90 seconds, or as long as you can manage. And yes, it's tough. You'll feel it quickly. After that, you move straight into a plank for another 60 seconds. Now, at this point, you might be thinking, well, of course, exercise helps blood pressure. That's nothing new. But isometric exercise like this works in a very specific and powerful way. When your muscles are under tension without movement, like in a wall, sit, or plank, you create sustained pressure within the muscle. And research shows this has a significant impact on arterial compliance, basically how flexible and responsive your blood vessels are. A major meta-analysis published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine looked at data from around 270 randomized controlled trials involving over 15,000 participants, comparing different types of exercise and their effects on blood pressure. And surprisingly, isometric exercise came out on top. It produced the largest reductions in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure. On average, systolic pressure dropped by about 8 points, which is comparable to what you'd expect from a first-line medication like ramipril or amlodipine. And the key here is that it's not just a temporary effect. This type of exercise actually improves the structure and function of your arteries over time. And importantly, you don't need to be fit to start. You just need to begin. Even holding the position for 30 seconds is enough at the start. The goal is progress, not perfection. From the 2.5-minute mark to about minute 4, you transition into a short burst of cardio. And this is where things start to shift from structure to function inside your blood vessels. Now, this doesn't need to be intense or intimidating. It can be something as simple as fast walking in place, stepping up and down on the bottom stair, or if your fitness allows, even a light jog. The goal here isn't to exhaust yourself, it's to activate a very specific biological response. This phase is all about nitric oxide, a molecule your body naturally produces that plays a critical role in controlling blood vessel behavior. Nitric oxide tells your blood vessels to relax and widen, a process known as vasodilation, which directly lowers resistance and helps bring blood pressure down. When you move your body, even briefly, you stimulate the endothelial cells lining your blood vessels to release more nitric oxide. And this matters because in people with high blood pressure, that system often isn't working properly. The vessels become less responsive, less flexible, and less capable of adapting to changes in blood flow. What this short burst of movement does is essentially retrain that system. It reminds your blood vessels how to behave. And the science here is very clear. A meta-analysis published in the Journal of the American Heart Association showed that regular aerobic activity significantly improves endothelial function, measured by something called flow-mediated dilation, which is essentially a way of assessing how well your vessels respond to increased blood flow. The takeaway is simple, short, consistent bursts of cardio like this are one of the most effective ways to restore that responsiveness. You are, in a very real sense, training your blood vessels just like you would train a muscle. And over time, they adapt, becoming more efficient and more responsive to the needs of your body. As you move from minute 4 to minute 5, you enter what I call the vascular flow phase. And on the surface, this part may seem almost too simple to matter, but don't underestimate it. This is where you keep the system moving while preparing your body for the final stage. Start with calf raises, lifting up onto your toes and slowly lowering back down, repeating this for about 20 to 30 repetitions, then add in some gentle arm circles or arm swings, followed by light squats if you're comfortable doing them. None of this is intense, and that's exactly the point. This phase serves a very specific physiological purpose. Your calf muscles are often referred to as your second heart, and for good reason. Every time they contract, they help pump blood from your lower limbs back toward your heart. When blood starts to pool in your legs, especially if you've been sitting or inactive for long periods, it increases something called peripheral resistance. And when resistance increases, your blood pressure follows. That's why on long flights, you're told to move your legs or walk around. It's not just for comfort, it's to keep your circulation efficient. What you're doing here is encouraging that same effect in a controlled, intentional way. By activating these muscles, you're improving blood flow, reducing resistance, and supporting the work your cardiovascular system is already doing. Research shows that regular muscle contractions in the lower body can significantly improve circulation, especially in people who are more sedentary. And just as importantly, this phase acts as a bridge. Instead of stopping abruptly after the more intense phases, you're gradually transitioning your body, maintaining momentum while preparing it for recovery. This smooth transition is key because your body responds better when changes are progressive rather than sudden. Then comes the final stage, from minute 5 to minute 7, and this is the part most people either overlook or skip entirely, yet it may be the most important component of the entire routine. This phase is all about controlled breathing. You're aiming for around 6 breaths per minute, which translates to a 5-second inhale followed by a 5-second exhale. It's slow, steady, and deliberate. And importantly, this should be diaphragmatic breathing, meaning you're breathing into your abdomen rather than just your chest. This style of breathing is often referred to as resonance frequency breathing or slow-paced breathing, and the evidence supporting it is surprisingly strong. A large meta-analysis published in the journal Hypertension in 2021 examined both guided and unguided slow breathing techniques and found consistent reductions in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure across multiple studies. The reason this works lies in your autonomic nervous system. When you breathe slowly and rhythmically, you activate the parasympathetic system, the part responsible for rest and recovery, while simultaneously calming the sympathetic system, which drives the fight or flight response. High blood pressure is often linked to a constantly elevated sympathetic tone, where your body remains in a state of alertness even when there's no real threat. What this breathing pattern does is directly counter that imbalance. It brings your system back into a state of calm. It also improves heart rate variability, which is a key marker of cardiovascular health and nervous system balance. The higher your heart rate variability, the better your body is at adapting to stress. And this isn't just a temporary effect. With consistent practice, you begin to shift your baseline, making calmness your default rather than stress. Now, when you look at the routine as a whole, the sequence becomes incredibly important. You're not just doing random exercises, you're guiding your body through a carefully structured progression. You begin with load, using isometric exercises to create controlled stress on your cardiovascular system, encouraging your arteries to adapt and become more flexible. Then you introduce flow through the cardio phase, stimulating nitric oxide production and improving how your blood vessels respond. After that, you enhance circulation with simple movements, keeping blood moving efficiently and reducing resistance. And finally, you bring everything back down with controlled breathing, shifting your nervous system into recovery mode and allowing your blood pressure to settle in a way that's actually therapeutic. You're taking your body on a journey from stress to recovery, and that transition is where the real benefit lies. This is the same principle that underpins all effective exercise. You apply a controlled challenge, and then you allow your body to adapt. But what makes this routine unique is that it targets all 3 major drivers of high blood pressure, arterial stiffness, poor vascular function, and nervous system overactivity in a single coordinated sequence that makes physiological sense. At this point, it's important to pause and address something directly because it comes up often and it genuinely matters. If you're currently taking medication for high blood pressure, this routine is not a reason to suddenly stop. That's not the purpose here. Medication plays a critical role for many people, and stopping it without proper guidance can be dangerous. What I would strongly encourage instead is this: start incorporating this routine alongside your current treatment. Be consistent with it, track your blood pressure over time, and then have an informed conversation with your doctor. As your numbers begin to change, and for many people they do, there may be an opportunity to adjust your medication. Some individuals, through consistent lifestyle changes, are able to reduce their dosage or even come off medication entirely. but that process must always happen under medical supervision. On the other hand, if you're not currently on medication and your blood pressure is either normal or only slightly elevated, then this is exactly the kind of approach you should be starting with. Lifestyle intervention is widely supported as a first-line strategy, especially in early-stage hypertension. And this routine gives you a practical, accessible way to begin. It doesn't require a complete overhaul of your life. It doesn't demand hours of your day. It simply asks for 7 focused minutes, done properly and done consistently. And that's really the core message here, consistency. Because 7 minutes on its own might seem insignificant. It might even feel too small to matter. But the real power of this routine doesn't come from doing it once. It comes from doing it every single day. The effects we've talked about, improving arterial flexibility, restoring endothelial function, calming the nervous system, these are not instant changes. They build gradually over time through repeated exposure. If you've been following this channel for a while, you've probably seen the idea I talk about often getting just 1% better each day. It sounds simple, but over weeks, months, and years, that small improvement compounds into something meaningful. Your arteries don't become more flexible overnight. Your blood vessels don't suddenly start responding perfectly after one session. Your nervous system doesn't reset in a day. These are slow, steady adaptations. And the people who see real lasting improvements in their blood pressure aren't the ones who try something extreme for a short period and then stop. They're the ones who commit to small, manageable actions and stick with them consistently. They build habits that last. So when you think about this routine, don't focus on the 7 minutes itself. Focus on the repetition. Focus on the habit, because that's where the real change happens. And for some of you, this might be the starting point for something bigger. Maybe those 7 minutes begin to make you feel better, more energized, more in control, and that leads you to take a walk or pay closer attention to what you're eating or eventually step into a gym. If that happens, that's incredible. That's exactly what this is meant to spark. But even if it doesn't, even if this is the only change you make, the evidence suggests it can still have a meaningful impact. That's the key takeaway. This routine isn't everything, but it's far from nothing. It's a simple, structured way to begin influencing your blood pressure in a positive direction without overwhelming yourself. You don't need to redesign your entire lifestyle overnight. You just need to start somewhere. And this is that starting point. So here's what I want you to do. Commit to this for the next 3 months. Just 7 minutes a day in the order we've discussed. Pay attention to how you feel. Monitor your blood pressure if you can. Give your body the chance to respond. Because meaningful change in health rarely comes from sudden, dramatic actions. It comes from small, consistent efforts repeated over time. And if you stay with it, if you allow that process to unfold, you may be surprised at just how much those 7 minutes can do. And before you go, here are some highly clickable video titles that could pull viewers in immediately.